Hi, this is Roussell, head coach of your Richmond Spiders women's basketball team, and you are watching the LegacyMaker Sports Network.
I'm Justice Miller here with LegacyMaker Sports, and I have with me Richmond Spiders head coach, Coach Roussell, and Addie Budnik, our senior forward, my bad. How are you guys doing today, and how are you guys feeling about this upcoming season?
I think this is a time of year that's full of excitement, and I think, hard to believe you're 20 as a head coach, but, it's hard to rank all of these, but I think the excitement level that I have with this group is just as high, if not higher, than any other group that we've had.
I would expect that, especially considering you've been with this team from the beginning. You've kind of coached them up from their freshman year all the way up to their senior year. So I would think that this would be a pretty exciting year.
Yeah, and I think, I think a big thing that we're finally old, and I say that out of love for our older players here. Hard to believe that when they came in as freshmen, that was the pandemic.
Yeah.
So that in some ways feels like it was yesterday, other days feels like it was a long time ago. But age aside, just the experience level that we have, I think for us this year to have the seniors, have the game experience that these guys have right now. The portal, I think, was good to us, and in a crazy way, we got older going into the portal this year. So I think, just to have that experience, I think is very comforting as a head coach.
I'm sorry, Addie, I cut you off. How are you feeling about this season?
I'm good. Kind of exactly what he was saying. We have a ton of experience coming back, especially with our freshmen from last year, now sophomores. They got a ton of experience, and also just the portal. We have some grad transfers that are adding experience, leadership. It's just huge for us.
So then, like you guys mentioned, the main thing that you guys kept saying over the years was the fact that you guys were young and that you guys need to just keep growing and building up your experience and building up the age of the team. So now that you guys have that experience and you guys did well with that experience, how do you think that'll play a role into how well you guys do going forward this season too?
Yeah, I mean, for me, and I don't know if our players will agree to this or agree with this, but I feel it's weirdly like the most relaxed I've been in these 20 years. Just to have that experience out there. Don't know what that look was or not, but I think just the comfort and the relaxation that, sometimes just trying stuff, and some of that is just because they've been through it a lot, that you can try new things and try things on the fly. Another part of that is keeping it fresh. They've been through this a little bit, and so you don't want to make it too monotonous. But I just feel like the experience factor for these guys allows us as a staff to try some new things, but at the same point, I think fine-tune some things that these guys have been really good at for the last few years.
Right.
Just building off of that, we're able to use our experience, help the younger kids, help the new kids, and also come season, be able to push through those hard times, having experience going through the highs and the lows, so that'll be super helpful.
You guys had freshmen last year, 2 freshmen stand out. I want to say the whole team did really well, of course. But Maggie and then Rachel Ulstrom, hope I didn't mess her name up.
You got it.
But those two, they came in and they just, they blew it out the water. They came in and they were really competitive on and off the court. So how do you think those two will do going into the season?
Yeah, I think those are 2 vital parts of our team. And to be honest with you, at the end of last season, I thought those 2 were extremely vital. I think Maggie got a lot of accolades last year, and deservedly so, especially fighting as much time as she had with the injury. But come the last, the tournament time and even going into the postseason, I thought Rachel was just as important a member of our team as these juniors were.
Right.
And I think, a credit to these guys, what people don't realize is how much older college basketball, the whole entire landscape has gotten. So for freshmen to have the impact, you just weren't seeing that a lot last year, and maybe we'll see what happens this year. But for a freshman, both of them, to have the impact that they did was incredible.
Yeah.
And I think it means even more for us this year. They're not out there playing like freshmen or even sophomores. I weirdly almost, maybe it's unfair to them, but kind of put them into that experience category as well.
I'm sure they love it.
Yeah, like Coach was saying, they don't feel like sophomores. They don't feel like underclassmen. Having that experience last year, especially in big moments like the A10 tournament, they're able to help be leaders in practice, help the younger kids. They understand the game. They have a good IQ, and that's going to be so helpful this year, being able to have a strong non-conference year and also conference.
Right. Well, speaking of accolades, because, the freshmen, they did their thing, but we have to give respect to our veteran players. Addie, you kind of stole the show, right? Last year, you did your thing. And then I think this year you were nominated for the I'm sorry, one moment. Katrina McLean Award Watch List. And that's a pretty big, prestigious award to be nominated for. Key and known players like Angel Reese from LSU is one of those players that have made it onto the list, as well as players like Sam Brunell at Virginia. So how do you feel being honored and thought of for such a high honor?
I mean, it's an amazing opportunity, and I'm so grateful to have that. I think that my coaches and teammates have done an amazing job just putting me in that position and supporting me through everything. I'm excited to see where this year takes us.
So I'll say this just because the culture of your team, you've been very big, like I said, as far as just building and growing up those players throughout the years. So how do you think that just shows for the overall, what does that say for the overall program? The fact that you can produce players like Addie and then come in with freshmen and sophomores and just keep building up that culture for the overall program.
I think a huge credit to Addie and her development over the last few years. You know, her numbers have been impressive, and I think they have really allowed her to stand out. But she's also just been incredibly unselfish, you know, and I think their style of play, you know, there was times last year, and I know she and I sometimes look at this, that, you know, from a points per game, points, you know, some people, untrained eye, may look at this and say this wasn't a great game. And she and I know differently that we're looking at a couple things that, hey, this person had a great game because of this. Her plus minus was, you know, maybe off the charts that game. And there's just, sometimes you talk with other coaches and they're like, you don't understand how good of a game Addie Budnik had, and the box score doesn't always do its service. You know, I think we have a lot of firepower on our team. You know, Addie's a 1,000-point scorer. We have Lauren Van Arsdale from Hampton, 1,000-point scorer. As a coach going through this, I think you're going to look at our roster. By the time all of these guys graduate, you might have 4 others. You know, we might look at this roster upcoming. We might have 5 or 6 kids that are 1,000-point scorers at the college level. You don't get that a lot, so I think that's a credit. But I think the way that these guys play, just so unselfishly, I'd be surprised if we don't have, through 30-plus games this year, we don't have 7 or 8 different leading scorers, you know, at some point in a game.
So, Addie,
Okay.
back to you.
Yeah.
You mentioned, so I think I saw in an earlier interview that you said that starting out here at Richmond Spiders, you were not as vocal as a leader before.
Yeah.
But, you know, 3 years later, you're a senior now, and, you know, ball's in your court. You've probably at the best, like, top of your game right now. So how do you feel just being able to direct and lead the team for this year? Like, how are you stepping into your role? What do you see yourself as right now?
Yeah, I think that if you would have talked to freshman me and told me that I would be like talking, helping people in practice, and even doing this right now, I probably would have looked at you crazy. So just being able to develop as a person and a player at Richmond has been huge for me. Developing my leadership skills, being able to talk on the court, off the court. So just it's exciting to see my growth.
Yeah. And just to end us off really quick, you guys, just want to talk to you guys about your preseason poll. You guys are ranked 4th right now, okay? And I think that's pretty big, right? I mean, you guys had such a good year coming off last season, 20-11. And I don't know. I mean, I think I see the potential for this team to be even bigger. So how are you guys feeling about all of this?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's more of a fun thing, I think, for maybe media, maybe a fun thing for everybody else. I don't know if it's necessarily a notch in our belt. I mean, I think, you know, I give our staff a lot of credit. We came in together, you know, 4+ years ago, and we weren't at this spot as a program. You know, especially this recruiting class right now, committed to us, you know, with the program was at a very, very different spot when these guys said yes to Richmond Spiders women's basketball. And so I think for these guys to feel like they've really brought this program to this point, you know, I don't feel like anybody says, hey, we've arrived. I don't think any of us feel like that. But to be in the tier of respected programs, I think is a huge credit to where the program has come and being led by these guys. So again, I think it's something that's exciting,
Yeah.
but I think there's a lot of games left to be played, some really, really good coaches, really good players in this league, that a lot of things can happen.
I'm actually going to sneak one more question in. I remembered that one of your new coaches, assistant coaches that you guys have added to the team, Ariel Stevenson. And I want to say she used to play back in the day, and we all know how much of a standout player she was. Or I'm sure Addie at least knows. You know too, right, Coach?
I know. I got to coach against it.
But, no, yeah, how does that feel just to have her be a part of the crew, join in the team? Because she's such a dynamic and charismatic player, right? And I feel like she probably, you know, teaches you guys a lot of different aspects of the game that maybe you're not as strong in, because you guys are very fundamental and very shot-taking, 3-point team. So how do you guys have her, you know, how's that having her?
For me,
And she's aggressive, okay? I'm going to tell you right now, she's got a really
for me,
aggressive
it's been
personality.
great. You know, maybe have seen her play, maybe know more about her basketball game and her history, but you know, she's been on the court every now and then. I think just has to remind these guys, you know, sometimes with her actions, every once in a while with her mouth, to let them know, you know, that she
I'm
still
sure
has
she
it a little
hasn't
bit.
aged. Okay, yeah, so the game hasn't
but,
aged
you know,
at all.
I think for me, you know, all that stuff is great, right? It gives some credibility, you know, when she's out there on the floor. But just seeing her dedication, you know, watching her as a player, I remember saying to my staff, like, and this was our first year, that's the sort of kid that we need.
Right.
You know, in our program, that sort of player, and for her to see in coaching, she's always been on that short list for me.
Yeah.
I think she maybe didn't know that until she was on staff here, but she's always been somebody I've had an eye on, and you know, for her to add what she's been able to add, the tie into it being local, you know, I think has been huge for me, and I think I'm seeing it with the players as well.
Well, that is all we have time for, unfortunately. But we cannot wait to cover you guys throughout this season, and that is Richmond Spiders. I'm Justice Miller, and this is LegacyMaker Sports.